Hello, Radiant Leo. If you've landed here today, know this: you didn't stumble upon this video by chance. The universe has been nudging you, aligning signs and symbols, and today, it finally brought you home. Between July 10th and 12th, 6 powerful numbers are circulating in your energetic field. These are not ordinary numbers. They are cosmic activators. And one of them, perhaps the very one that's been appearing on your receipts, clocks, or dreams, could unlock the flow that leads you to win $1 billion. But this message goes far deeper than money. This is about resonance, alignment, destiny. Because Leo, something inside you has already started stirring a quiet inner fire that knows something big is coming. The truth is, these numbers are not predictions, and this video is not simply entertainment. This is a sacred mirror. It's here to reflect back to you what your soul already knows, but your conscious mind might have forgotten. So pause for a moment. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, why now? Why this message, today? Was it a repeating number that led you here? A moment of stillness where you heard your intuition speak louder than your fear? Whatever it was, it matters. It's real. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore 6 unique frequencies, each encoded with a spiritual function to guide your decisions, recalibrate your career path, invite emotional healing, protect your physical health, and amplify the magnetic power that is already built into your Leo spirit. And Leo, I ask you now, what number keeps showing up for you lately? Is it whispering on license plates? Appearing in phone numbers? Or returning in your dreams? Drop it in the comments below. Don't wait, don't second guess it, name it. Because when you name what's calling to you, you claim it. And when you claim it, you allow it to move through you. That is when transformation begins. And before we go any further, let me take a moment to express my deepest gratitude for your presence here. Every like you tap, every comment you share, every time you subscribe, you're not just supporting this space. You're becoming part of a collective energy field, one that gives back, heals, and expands through intention. Your presence fuels eternal mindfulness, and together, we're building a space where ancient wisdom meets personal awakening. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Stay with me through this entire journey, because by the end of this video, not only will you know which of these 6 numbers is speaking directly to your soul, you'll understand exactly how to use it to shift your mindset, invite abundance, and reawaken your personal power. The universe doesn't ask you to be perfect. It only asks you to be present. And Leo, you were born for presence. You were born to lead. Now let's begin and see which number is calling your name. There is a moment in every Leo's journey when the fire within dims, not because it has burned out, but because it has been covered by layers of expectation, fatigue, and disconnection from true purpose. The number 1 arrives not to reignite something foreign, but to remind you of the original flame you were born with. It's not loud or dramatic. It doesn't push its way in. Instead, it rests gently at the edge of your awareness, whispering a question you may have forgotten how to ask. Who am I, really, when I'm not trying to please or prove? This number doesn't offer answers. It invites remembering. A return to the place inside you where clarity lives not as an idea, but as a sensation. Astrologically, this moment corresponds with the Sun, your ruling planet, and the very heart of identity and purpose. When Leo energy forgets its solar origin, it begins to live by reflection rather than radiance, mirroring what others expect, rather than illuminating what's real. But the number 1 isn't a reflection. It's a core frequency. The first beat of a personal revolution. In the language of tarot, it's the magician, the one who stands between heaven and earth, not waiting for permission to begin, but choosing to use what's already within reach. On an energetic level, this is a call from your solar plexus, the chakra tied to willpower, inner strength, and confident autonomy. When this center is open, decisions feel embodied. You move not from performance but from presence. When blocked, however, life starts to feel like obligation. Work becomes mechanical. Motivation dries up. The joy that once came naturally feels out of reach. That's why this isn't just a number, it's a reset point. What does it look like to choose yourself again, not as rebellion but as devotion? It could be as subtle as how you eat, slowing down, listening to your body's cues, choosing food that feels alive rather than fast and processed. It might show up in the words you speak to yourself in the morning. Touching your belly before rising and affirming, "I lead my life from light, not fear," is not trivial, it's a declaration. One that aligns your nervous system with intention rather than reaction. This is also a time to revisit your personal vision. Not the one crafted for a resume or to satisfy others, but the one that makes your chest rise when you speak it aloud. Write it in 3 lines. Let it be raw. Then read it daily, not as a to-do list, but as a homecoming. Color, too, carries frequency. Gold, specifically, radiant golden yellow, amplifies the energy of this number. It speaks to authority, not over others, but over your own life force. Wearing it, surrounding yourself with it, or even visualizing it during breath work can reactivate the circuits of inner power that may have gone dormant. There is a wisdom tradition that teaches us, you do not need to fix what is broken. You only need to see clearly what is true. Often, the truth is simple: you were never lost, you were just waiting for the right moment to return to yourself. And Leo, that moment is now. The number 1 doesn't ask for perfection. It doesn't even ask for certainty. It simply says, begin. From where you are. With what you have. And most importantly, with who you truly are, not who the world taught you to be. So as this number weaves into your field between July 10th and 12th, let it meet you gently. Not as pressure to do more, but as permission to feel more. To trust your instincts again. To walk your own path, even if it means walking alone for a while. Because leadership, real leadership, doesn't begin when others follow. It begins the moment you choose not to abandon yourself. There are certain moments in life that don't knock before they enter, they sweep in like wine through an open window, uninvited yet undeniably purposeful. That is the essence of the number 5. It doesn't ask for permission. It arrives as motion itself, a shift in rhythm, a break in habit, a change in direction that at first might feel like chaos, but is actually a doorway. For Leo, whose nature often thrives on a sense of personal control, number 5 can feel both thrilling and unsettling. But when understood as an ally rather than a disruption, it becomes a force that liberates. The number 5 vibrates with movement. It belongs to the element of air, ungraspable, curious, transformative. In astrology, This energy is similar to a strong Uranian transit or Mercury in motion. Information comes quickly, opportunities arise suddenly, and routines become irrelevant. It can feel disorienting. But within that disorientation is space to breathe, space to choose differently, space to respond from intuition rather than fear. In the tarot, 5 is often linked to the Hierophant, but when reversed, its message shifts from tradition to self-truth. It asks, are you living from inherited structure, or from your own evolving clarity? When number 5 appears during a window of time like this one, it's not random. It signals a karmic inflection point, a subtle nudge from the universe that something new is trying to enter your life, and your job is not to control it, but to meet it with curiosity. Perhaps there's an offer you didn't expect. A conversation that opens a new door. Or an internal knowing that you can't keep walking the path you've always walked. These are not inconveniences. They are invitations. In one contemplative tradition, it's taught that all suffering arises from clinging. And all freedom, conversely, begins when we let go not of everything, but of what no longer holds truth. Physically, this energy often moves through the nervous system, the intricate web of perception, reaction, and regulation. During these periods, sleep can be disrupted. Thoughts race. The body feels like it's vibrating even when still. That's not a flaw in your system, it's energy trying to integrate. Practices like 4-7-8 breathing, herbal infusions like chamomile, or even simply placing a hand over your chest and breathing consciously for 2 minutes can regulate the space where mind meets body. And don't underestimate the calming influence of color. Wearing soft blues or surrounding yourself with this hue can signal to your system that stillness is available, even in motion. So when you feel the breeze of uncertainty rise over the next few days, remember this: not every gust is a storm. Some winds are sacred. Some are meant to lift you. Number 5 doesn't ask you to leap without awareness. It simply asks, what might be waiting for you if you stop holding so tightly to what's familiar? Not every change is loss. Sometimes it's the first breath of freedom. There's a quiet power that arrives with the number 11, and if you listen closely, you can almost feel it humming beneath the noise of daily life. Unlike other numbers, 11 doesn't announce itself with grandeur. It appears like a subtle shimmer just outside your logical understanding. For Leo, a sign so often focused on action and presence in the world, the vibration of 11 can feel unfamiliar at first, even disorienting. But when embraced, it reveals something profound: the doorway between your current self and the higher potential you've always carried. This is not the kind of intuition that comes from wishful thinking or escapism. The energy of 11 is precise. It speaks in the language of subtle signs, repeated images in dreams, a phrase someone says twice, a symbol that keeps returning no matter how often you ignore it. It is the frequency of the inner compass, the quiet knowing that arises before your mind has a chance to label it. In the ancient systems of wisdom, this kind of perception was honored as a form of intelligence beyond thought. What we often mistake as sensitivity is, in truth, heightened perception. And that is the gift of this number. In astrology, the number 11 carries echoes of the 11th house vision, ideals, and collective contribution, but here, its role is more intimate. It asks not, what do you want to do in the world, but rather, can you hear your soul whispering what you've been avoiding? In tarot, the number is linked to the Justice card. But this justice is not about morality, it is about alignment. Truth not as law, but as resonance. When you are living in truth, there is nothing to defend. Your energy simply harmonizes with reality, and decisions become clear not because they are easy, but because they feel inevitable. Physically, this number often communicates through your body's quiet responses, your hydration levels, your sleep rhythms, the subtle weight behind your eyes at the end of a long day. These are not just symptoms. They are messages. A well-regulated nervous system is a more receptive system. That's why drinking enough water, reducing digital noise after dark, and spending a few moments each day in intentional silence can awaken clarity far faster than external research ever could. When it comes to work, number 11 does not ask you to quit everything. It asks you to pause and ask, is what I'm building reflective of who I'm becoming? Not every opportunity that looks good on paper will nourish your deeper path. Sometimes your next direction will feel completely illogical to your conscious mind, and yet your body will lean into it with unmistakable calm. That's the kind of signal worth following. Let the color moss green become your companion this week. Wear it, sit near it, breathe into it. It holds the grounding of the earth and the elevation of spirit. A reminder that you don't need to transcend your life to meet your mission, you only need to quiet down enough to hear it. And when you do, you'll realize your path isn't missing. It's been waiting patiently, just outside the volume of your distractions. When the number 3 arrives in your field, it doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for expression. Not the rehearsed kind or the curated kind, but the kind that rises up from within and insists on being felt, heard, shared. For Leo, whose identity is deeply connected to presence and performance, number 3 offers a quiet shift in perspective. This isn't about shining for applause. It's about speaking from the center of your truth even if your voice trembles. Especially if it does. This number pulses through the throat chakra, the energetic gateway of communication. But this isn't just about words. It's about alignment between what you feel, what you know, and what you're willing to share with the world. When those things are disconnected, the body knows. You may feel tension in the neck, dryness in the throat, or that inexplicable sense of being blocked. These are not random sensations. They are signals pointing to where your truth is being silenced, often for the sake of harmony, safety, or control. The wisdom carried by number 3 is the same lesson shared across many ancient traditions, that healing is impossible without expression. In certain teachings, it's said that the cause of suffering is not emotion itself but the suppression of it. And in the same way that stagnant water breeds decay, unspoken truths begin to distort our emotional landscape over time. The moment you give yourself permission to say what needs to be said, whether out loud or on paper, energy begins to move again. The system relaxes. Breath returns. Creativity, too, is not limited to artists. It's a birthright. A function of aliveness. Whether through writing, painting, singing, or simply having a vulnerable conversation, number 3 is asking, where in your life have you been silent to protect someone else's comfort? Where have you swallowed truth in exchange for being liked? This is not about shouting your feelings into the void. It's about reclaiming your right to voice what's real without apology and without the need to be understood by everyone. For those working in communication fields, teaching, healing, or any form of leadership, this is your moment to speak from a deeper current. Let your message be colored by sincerity rather than strategy. You don't have to get it right. You just have to let it be honest. And for those who feel the pull to create something, anything, now is not the time to wait for clarity. Now is the time to begin, messy and uncertain, because creativity is clarity's doorway. Taking care of your voice is not just physical maintenance. It's energetic respect. Warm teas, humming in the morning, or simply resting in silence are all rituals that reconnect you to your message. And the color peach, soft, joyful, quietly bold, can help evoke the courage to express what's gentle, tender, and real. So if something inside you has been wanting to speak, let it. If something has been aching to be created, create it. Not for likes, not for validation, but because holding it in has become too heavy. And when you finally let it out, you'll realize your voice was never too much. It was only waiting for you to trust it. There's a kind of freedom that doesn't come from escape, but from structure. A sense of flight that doesn't rely on recklessness, but on rhythm. That's the quiet wisdom held within the number 14. At first glance, it might seem paradoxical. How can balance and expansion exist side by side? But for those willing to slow down enough to listen, 14 offers the rare insight that discipline and joy are not enemies. They are, in fact, co-creators of a sustainable life. This number appears like a pause between two breaths, the moment when the inhale hasn't yet become exhale, and all things feel possible. It speaks to the delicate yet powerful space between doing and being. For Leo, a sign often driven by purpose, performance, and radiant effort, this number arrives not to stop your momentum, but to deepen it. It reminds you that burnout is not the price of greatness, and that true impact is born not from constant output, but from intentional pacing. Energetically, 14 resonates with the vibration of temperance in the tarot. This archetype doesn't rush. It doesn't push. It blends. It listens. It adjusts. Like a master alchemist, it knows how to combine effort and ease, ambition and recovery, desire and discernment. It teaches that when you move with harmony, time bends in your favor. This is not about doing less, it's about doing what matters most, with a full and steady presence. In practical terms, this energy asks you to restructure, not to restrict, but to support. It might mean reviewing your calendar, identifying the invisible patterns that drain your energy, or simply inserting more white space between the demands of the day. A simple method like the 50-10 rule, 50 minutes of focused effort followed by 10 minutes of conscious pause, can change the entire tone of your productivity. It shifts the nervous system from survival to flow. And flow, as we know, is where creativity thrives. There's a concept often explored in meditative traditions that suggests we should act as if we have all the time in the world, even while knowing we don't. That's not complacency. It's clarity. It's a return to inner timing, rather than the frantic external clocks we've learned to obey. Number 14 is an invitation to choose pace over pressure, to recognize that go slow doesn't mean fall behind. It means root in deeply enough to rise without breaking. On a physical level, this is the time to tend to the rhythms of your body as well. Gentle yoga, slow walks without distraction, sitting outside to feel the wind without reaching for your phone, these are not luxuries. They are recalibrations. Each one reminds your body that you are not a machine. You are not here to perform endlessly. You are here to live wisely, fully, and awake. Let yourself be guided by grounding colors this week: olive green and soft white. Not as aesthetics, but as subtle anchors. They restore a quiet internal trust that life doesn't demand constant acceleration. Sometimes, the most courageous thing you can do is pause just long enough to listen. And from that pause, everything you build next will hold. There is a kind of clarity that doesn't come at the beginning of the journey, but at the summit, when you've climbed enough, fallen enough, circled around your own patterns enough to finally see with a higher view. The number 28 holds that perspective. It arrives not as the first light of awakening, but as the moment you realize you become the version of yourself you once only imagined. For Leo, a sign born to lead, inspire, and carry light with courage, this number is less about seeking a new identity and more about stepping fully into the one that has quietly been forming all along. Where other numbers call for movement or insight, 28 calls for embodiment. It brings a message that's less about potential and more about presence. This is not about starting over. It's about recognizing that every choice, every detour, every stretch of doubt was part of a deeper alignment, one that now places you in a position to hold space for others, not from ego, but from inner maturity. The tarot archetype linked to 28 is the Emperor, but not in the rigid, authoritarian sense. Here, the Emperor is a steward, a builder of structures that last, a protector of what matters most, not because he needs control, but because he has cultivated clarity. In professional life, this number often appears when you are being prepared for greater responsibility. Not necessarily more tasks, but more meaningful influence. You may be called to initiate a new project, step into leadership, or become the energetic anchor for a team. If this feels intimidating, that's natural. Growth always carries tension. But this isn't pressure placed on you, it's a reflection of what you've already proven capable of holding. Sometimes, recognition from the outside is simply catching up with what your soul already knows. What's vital now is to articulate your purpose. Not for show, not for branding, but as a way of crystallizing the energy that's been gathering inside you. Writing a personal mission statement, even in raw, unpolished words, is a powerful ritual. Let it begin with what breaks your heart open, and what brings it to life. Let it be simple. Let it be true. Physically, the body mirrors this energetic shift through the spine and heart center. These areas hold posture not just literally, but energetically. When your spine is upright and your chest is open, you're signaling to the world and to yourself, I am present. I am here to hold what's mine. Gentle spinal stretches, deep heart-centered breathing, and restorative sleep can all support this integration. They remind your nervous system that safety doesn't require shrinking, it requires rootedness. This is a time for colors that ground and affirm. Ashy violet and earthy gold carry the weight and wisdom of those who protect sacred spaces not with walls, but with presence. When you wear or surround yourself with these tones, you're not decorating. You're aligning. You're choosing to walk as someone who no longer needs to be chosen. Because now, finally, you have chosen yourself. And from that place, every step becomes a quiet declaration, I am ready to lead, not perfectly, but powerfully. If you've made it this far, dear Leo, then something deep within you already knows. These 6 numbers were not just coincidences or curiosities, they were frequencies, and one of them has been quietly calling your name. Not to predict your future, but to activate your power. Not to impose meaning, but to help you remember the brilliance you were always meant to live from. You were never meant to shrink in order to belong. You were meant to expand, to lead, to illuminate. And now, after everything you've listened to, felt, and reflected on, I want to gently ask you, which number stirred something inside you today? Did one make your chest rise, your heart beat a little faster, or your thoughts pause? Did something feel like an echo of a dream you forgot you had? That's not accidental. That's resonance. And resonance is the first sign of alignment. So what would it mean for you to choose that number now, not just intellectually, but energetically? What if you let it guide your next small step? Maybe it means writing that idea down, finally speaking your truth, or simply drinking water like a sacred act of self-respect. Maybe this isn't about changing your whole life, but changing how present you are to the life you already have. Remember, Leo, real transformation doesn't scream. It begins quietly. In breath. In choice. In stillness. You don't need to wait for the stars to align. You are the alignment. You don't need to ask for permission to rise. You were born to rise. Not to impress, but to embody. Not to perform, but to remember who you are when no one's watching. So I invite you now, before you click away, to ask yourself, if I allowed myself to truly begin again today, what would I begin? And more than that, what am I finally ready to leave behind, so that what's meant for me can arrive? Let this video be more than something you watched. Let it be something you felt. Something you carried with you. Leave a comment below with the number that spoke to your soul most deeply. That number isn't just a symbol, it's a permission slip. When you speak it, you activate it. You allow it to enter your space and shape your reality from the inside out. And from my heart to yours, thank you for being here with me, in this moment, in this space, under the light of this cosmic timing. Every like, every comment, every subscription is more than an action, it's a ripple of shared intention that keeps this space alive. You're not just watching eternal mindfulness, you are part of it. You're shaping the frequency of this entire channel. So if this message moved something in you, let it be known. Share it. Like it. Subscribe if you haven't. Not because you're told to, but because you feel called. And as you step back into your life today, I hope you walk with a little more softness in your breath, a little more fire in your heart, and the quiet conviction that you are no longer waiting for your future to begin, because it already has. Right here. Right now. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are becoming. And the universe has already said yes.